Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I really wanted to reach out because I had a little nosy on your profile. I was like, you seem properly cool. I'm definitely wanting to chat with you
Oh,
on this.
I'm flattered.
Nah, honestly, it's sick. So I think should we start off with the mentoring that you do? Because I didn't realize that, and I think that's such an amazing thing to be able to combine both worlds of your own career, but also still have an eye out to help nurture other groups as well through. So do you want to start by telling us a bit more about that?
Of course. So, last year I graduated as a career coach. It was just really a part of me just kind of, I guess, refining my brand identity. So I don't know about you, but like, have you ever been at a point in life where you kind of feel like, okay, what am I actually doing?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Or,
so,
no, or more like how am I doing it? More like how am I doing it?
yeah, like I kind of found myself in a place where, yeah, I was achieving lots of accolades and I was doing really well. But in terms of actually just kind of refining my calling, I felt like I had to do that course because I feel like personal development is really important to me. And I feel like I'm never at a point where I've reached. And I feel like if you ever get to a place where you feel like you've reached, then you clearly are not self-aware enough. I feel like life is constantly about learning, it's constantly about growing.
And
And this
evolving,
is the
definitely.
yeah, and evolving exactly. So, yeah, I did this career coach course, and it really helped to kind of refine my calling because before that, I ran a platform called Schoolgirl Online, and that was kind of my baby. I had that dream when I was 16 years old, but then I kind of got to a place where it started not to kind of make sense with where I was in my life at the time. A lot of girls got in touch with me to ask about the media industry, to ask about TV, how to get into it. And I found myself naturally giving them advice about the industry that I was in. So it kind of made sense that actually, why don't you just base your brand around coaching young women into how to navigate this space because this is what they're coming to you for anyway. So I kind of walked away after I did my career coaching course, I kind of walked away and I thought, yeah, it's time to rebrand. And since then, I haven't looked back.
You know what's powerful already from speaking to you is you've used the term a couple of times, your calling. And I think that's
Hmm.
really deep with an understanding of what it is that you are here to offer, not just people around your circle, but the world. That's what I class as a calling. And for me,
Yeah.
I tapped into my call, and I believe my calling is to spread light and joy to the world. That's what I believe my calling is. That's what I'm here on the planet to spark the soul of a generation. And I think when you
Mm.
tap into your calling, it almost summons a bigger part. Like the way that I'm doing these chats started actually during quarantine, during lockdown, and it was like, how can I look to be seen or want to connect with people to raise the spirits of people and also find out about life stories and the optimism that people have to share. And there's something that's
Mm.
special in that realism, but not a lot of people ever use that term, their calling. So do you remember, was there a particular lightning bolt moment, or was there a particular time when you felt so in tune with your calling that you had to follow it? And what would you say your calling is?
I would say, first and foremost, my calling is to be me. Like, there are out of 7 billion people on this planet, there is literally only one Tee Cee. There's only one Tee Cee. So, first and foremost, I've got to be that person because there's a reason why God created me. And there's something about me that is going to help somebody else. So, that's first and foremost is to be myself. I think, second of all, I naturally like to help other people realize their purpose as well. I'm a natural motivator. Um, I would say I'm a natural light. Like whenever people say to me all the time, like I don't know what it is about you, but like I get this brightness or this lightness or this sense of joy whenever you're around. And I'm the kind of person like I'll be walking down the road and not even knowing that I'm smiling. Like you know when you're trying to have like a vex face, like don't trouble me. But naturally, I'm just like smiling. That's why I could never survive in London. People down there just find me weird. Like why is she smiling so much? But I can't help it. It's because naturally, that's just who I am. It's inside of me. I think, do you know what? I remember I was lying in my bed. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm an early bird. So for me to be up at 1 in the morning, that's a serious thing. Something was happening. And it just kind of came to me. I just started writing down all these different ideas for Not Your Average Girl, which is the platform that I now run. And it literally just came to me. I just started writing down loads of ideas about what I want it to be. I want to build an empire. This is what I want it to look like. This is the kind of content that I want to create. Because even though I work in media now, it's still quite restrictive if you're not at a high level. Whereas, like, I know when I'm doing my own thing and I have control over my own narrative and content, like, I have so much more to offer to the world. So yeah, it just literally came to me like word vomit, and I couldn't stop writing. I couldn't stop just conjuring of all these things about what it is that I wanted to do. So like, yeah, nothing like major. I was just in bed. It was late, and I started making notes.
It's amazing to hear that though, because Not Your Average Girl, it obviously focuses on a particular demographic.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you start that? Because it definitely is more of a in the public like conversation for a lot more equality being represented in media, in music, across all platforms of entertainment and as I say, media. So was that something that was prevalent at the time, or was it something that came quite before? I don't want to say the movement because it's not just started over the 2 years, but before it really created the attention, the attention that it's definitely demanded over the last couple of years, especially.
I'd say Not Your Average Girl, like that term, like I coined that when I was like 16, and I kept saying it. It was just it was, I don't know if like as a teen, like you had like a certain like phrase or word that you fell in love with, but Not Your Average Girl, like I do a lot of writing. So like if you read back on my diaries, it's just a term that I always use to describe myself. I always knew that I was different, not in terms of being better than everybody else, but in terms of just that was my USP. I never really felt like I fit in whenever I
Did you
was around.
celebrate that? Did you celebrate that, or were there times when it felt a bit awkward
Mm,
around it?
I grew up as I grew up very highly sensitive as a child. So I was very tall as a young child. Um, also, when I was a child, I used to get bullied for having dark skin. So I always kind of felt like the odd one out. I always kind of felt like I didn't really belong in any sort of circle. And I think by the time I got to my teens, it was kind of, I think I'd say around 16. I remember saying to my mom, like, Mom, I want to start this magazine for young women, and I really want to empower them, because I used to read loads of magazines like Closer, Heat, you name it. I was a proper magazine junkie. But I always found like even though those magazines were entertaining, there was nothing stimulating in there that
Yeah.
said to me like, look, you can start a business, you can be a boss, you can focus on your health. There was just always stuff about like relationships and appearance, and I just kind of felt like there has to be more elements to young women than this. So Not Your Average Girl was kind of born out of, actually I want to appeal to those young women who want to just focus on different elements of their life. I'm not saying that beauty and fashion is not important. Of course it is. We all want to look nice. We all want to feel great. However, life is about balance. Your wellness needs to be in check. Spirituality needs to be in check. Mindset needs to be in check. You know what I mean? So I feel like balance was the way of saying, I'm not your average girl. There's different assets and elements to me. I may not be the it girl. I may not be the hot girl, but this is what makes me unique. And it really is about each individual young woman finding their USP that makes them fabulous. Do you know what I mean? So I've kind of just really locked on to that phrase. And yeah, like I said, when I was rebranding Schoolgirl, I just thought this doesn't really make sense, because Not Your Average Girl is what people know me for. They know that I say it, they know that I post about it. So I thought, let's just marry the two together and just allow people to really identify that with me.
I think it's key what you're saying. I think that obviously there's a lot of depth and substance that sometimes, you know, fashion and beauty, obviously it plays a part and it is important, but a true connection is when people have the depth of substance, and sometimes it can be a bit futile because people don't really engage with that side of it because it can be easy. Instagram, I love Instagram. I'm not even having a
Mhm.
swipe at it, but it's my favorite world of social media because it's looking at the world through sunglass lenses. So you don't know what really is happening in that person's world. Oh, sorry,
Exactly.
when people get to share a bit of substance, a bit of depth, when you have that, I feel it now in this conversation. Is that, you know,
Yeah.
when you're stimulated by an invigorating conversation, it just reaches a different area in your soul. It just brings something
Yeah.
else alive and makes you feel like anything is possible. So when you created this, is that something that you wanted people to tap into when they came across your material?
Absolutely. And it's about saying that you can do both. Like, I feel like we're in a world where people try and put you in a box and categorize you. It's like, oh, she's the fashion influencer, she's the makeup artist, she's smart, but she's not pretty. Like, you can be both. If you want to be the sexy career girl, the sexy businesswoman, you can be both. You don't have to be one or the other. Like, people assume that just because, say, you're a woman in a position of leadership, you have to kind of be an itch, or you have to wear a suit or look less feminine to kind of match up with men in that particular level. And it's like, no, I can be sexy, I can still be a leader, I can still be intelligent, like I can be all, I can be it all. Like, I don't have to choose one or be categorized. And I think there are influencers out there, like, for example, Patricia Bright. I think she's a great example of someone who is a great businesswoman. She's also good at fashion. She's also good at beauty. And she has just really cleverly shown that you don't have to be one or the other. And I think that's what it's about, allowing people to realize, like, stop trying to make people force you into a box.
Do you find when people reach out to you, are they reaching out more complimentary of what you're putting out, or are they reaching out with more questions about themselves, which you feel because you saw, or because you're interested in learning more and becoming secure and true to who you are, that you're able to then find answers that then again shine a light on other people? Like, how do you manage the material that you come up with to still be engaging with people who who are still seeking that security in themselves?
I think it's trial and error. Like, you're never going to be able to cater to everybody. But I feel like, rather than approach it from a perspective of trying to cater to the masses, you put out what it, so I see it from the perspective of, what did I need when I was coming into TV? What support was I missing? And I know if I was missing that support, then someone else is definitely going to be missing that support. So I'm basically giving out everything that I didn't have, or I feel I didn't have, mixed in with some of the questions or some of the things that other young women have reached out to me for, because I might think, oh, there's a gap that I didn't think of. So it's kind of creating balance. There's a little bit of filling in the gaps of what I didn't have, mixed with what they actually need now.
Would you say, are you wanting to be a role model, or is it something that you're creating? And if you are viewed as a role model, you accept it, or is there a pressure on being a role model, or do you want to be seen as you know, when you were coming through and that person wasn't there? If you're trying to fill that void, essentially, are you trying to be a role model? Because I do think there's a lot of pressure on that title.
Do you know what? I think a role model is not necessarily something you want to be. It's you either are or you're not. People either look up to you or they don't. And I'm going to be honest, my I would love to think that, people can draw some form of inspiration from me. But if they don't, that's not my business. Like, I'm just gonna get on with my life, because I just feel like this pressure on yourself to try and be whatever it is, whether it's a role model or an influencer or whatever the title may be. Like, just live your life. And if you're living your life in the best way that you know how, people will naturally gravitate to you anyway. When Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or whoever was just fighting their cause, I don't think their main concern is oh, I hope I inspire people. They will just do what they've got to do. And through that, through their cause, through their fight, they were able to create a natural following. And that's what I want to do. I hope that just by living my purpose, I create an organic and authentic following or community. I'd rather call it a community that just naturally gravitates to me anyway, you
I
know?
respect that. I respect that. And the reason I ask is that sometimes it can put unburdened pressure and it can sometimes sway people further down the line when it comes
Hmm.
to decision making in maybe career roles or opportunities that are presented. And sometimes it might be right for you, but you might be thinking, is this what? But I love the facts, the answer that you've given. You know, you're not doing it to be seen as a role model. You're doing it because
Hmm.
it's who you are. It's the authenticity of what you're about. And through that, it is a true saying. It's like you lead by example, not by what you say. It's not
Exactly.
just the following. So I definitely respect that.